Relevant talk has a radio address where you hold the microphone. America's first competition talk show.
The hub is engaging.
Talk life.
A gentleman by the name of J. Christian Adams, who was about a 10-year veteran of the Justice Department, attorney with the Justice Department, recently resigned, left the department, and has come out now against a case that was happening involving the new Black Panther organization and a voter intimidation case that went on back in 2008 at a polling location. And at the time when Adams was following this, he and the attorneys that were assigned to this case were all told, allegedly, he said they were now all told to drop the case, quit the investigation, because, and weren't really given a reason, but the reason he's now giving is that Loretta King, who's the acting head of the Civil Rights Division, and Stephen Rosenbaum, who's an attorney with the division since the early part of this decade, had told them to drop the case, and he believes it's race-based. He believes that a lot of it had to do with race. And I don't know where he's getting this from, other than the fact that they only did this because the new policy says that you cannot bring up these types of cases involving black defendants and white victims. That's okay. You cannot bring up these kind of cases in the Justice Department now, cases that are structured that way. So to have moved forward with this case would have been a policy violation, and we can't violate policy. So, you know, the question I have here is do you think that he's blowing smoke because it's just so easy to build this kind of a scenario into this story now? Or do you see, I mean, it's just rampant and honestly something you've got to really focus on because it could be very dangerous moving into an election season here. Lee, jump in there. Start out.
There are three dots that either connect or don't connect to verify what he said. Either a judge handed down verdicts or didn't and told the Justice Department or asked the Justice Department what sentencing they wanted. Two, the fact that there are guys on film blocking the door with blunt weapons, at the very least menacing, which is all it takes in any other case. And then finally, the issue of, the Justice Department, people saying, well, the situation, the case law and the facts don't justify doing something. And at the end of the day, those things don't match up. There's raw footage of these guys standing at the doorway, and then the pivotal question becomes: did a judge say, yeah, they're guilty, Justice Department, what do you want to do? Because if that's the case, then the Obamanites in the Justice Department are lying when they say that the law doesn't match the facts. How can it not if you've got film and a judge has handed down a verdict?
And what are the facts? I mean, Maria, the Justice Department spokeswoman Tracy Schmaler is saying that they are distorting the facts and making baseless allegations to promote their agenda. The investigation was closed. Where are the facts? I mean, until you have an investigation, it's hard to know the facts and as to whether you have base allegations or not.
Hey, I'm glad I'm not running for office in Philadelphia. I had no idea that it was common policy to brandish deadly weapons at the polling places. People might think it's rough here in Georgia, but wow.
That discourages you on the campaign trail.
Maybe just a little bit. But, obviously you should never have a policy in place that allows individuals that have broken laws to get by with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You should not, the law says you don't brandish a weapon in a public polling place, then you prosecute. It's simple to me.
Yeah, and honestly, they're saying that it was an unnamed political appointee saying that they're not going to be doing, they're not going to do these types of cases out of the Civil Rights Division. Well, what is the Civil Rights Division for?
Without civil rights cases?
Without civil rights cases or one-sided civil rights cases. I mean, this seems like open season on a particular ethnic group. Honestly, at this point, I don't see what you exist for if it's not to prosecute civil rights cases.
They're focused on Armenians, committing civil rights and voter rights laws. Those Armenians ever since Jim Crow who've been oppressing, voters.
Yeah, having a target market.
That's right.
It's the German and the huge number of Aryans in the country espousing their beliefs. Mark, honestly, they said there was 3 Black Panthers here involved in this thing. Mm-hmm. It's Minister King Samir Shabazz, Malik Zulu Shabazz, and Jerry Jackson. They were charged in the complaint of the Voter Rights Act back in 2008. Mm-hmm. It said that you cannot use coercion, threats, and intimidation at a polling location. Honestly, a lot of this stuff I think should go without saying. The fact that we even have to state these kind of acts shows we as a society are in a bad way.
Yeah, well, we can't use force and intimidation in any place in this country legally, can we?
Yeah, it should go without saying, even more so in this type of a scenario. It's the thing that really bothers me about this is how the administration handled this. Though they
failed to show up in court. Defendants failed to show up in court.
And
the administration wanted default judgment, and then after winning, dismissed.
Yeah. It's almost like we take this into our closet, and once we have full control of the situation, we do with whatever we will. We'll do what we wanted to do all along, which was dismiss this case and move on with our lives and set a precedent, by the way, before we have a midterm election cycle in a 2012 that's not looking so hot for us.
Well, and thankfully, the judgment is there so that the legal precedent is still where it needs to be. Because the staggering thing, again, is, they're bold-faced lying. Again, I go back to it, but it is the dog that didn't bark. The facts and the law don't justify prosecution, even though the judgment has been reached. If a default judgment is not reached on the basis of the facts and the law, how does one get there?
Yeah.
How else do you get a judgment without the facts and the law being in place? It's staggering to me.
Well,
and it's like you said, they want it, and then they decided they didn't want it.
Yeah, and the thing Schlocker is saying, the Justice Department spokesperson is killing me, is that we don't need to prosecute because we have an injunction against him. So in other words, he'll never do this again. Whether he did it before or not, it's acquittal. He'll never do it again. So let's let bygones be bygones. We fixed the problem.
No, the law against him was not compelling, but the injunction will be.
The injunction will be, and case closed before we started. Who needs a case? We have an injunction. Mark.
I'm baffled. I don't understand why they dropped the case. I don't know.
Well, it's just it is what it is, and we kind of know we know where a lot of people are heading on this. It does create a real hostile environment, though, and a lot of dangers as we move into a midterm election cycle and we move into 2012. Where do you get justice where injustice is done? How do you get a honest and forthright process in what, quite frankly, is the institution we based our entire system on, the electoral system? We'll see you tomorrow.